May 30th, we will have our first mixed martial arts fight card in Las Vegas. It was okayed and green-lighted by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. It was okay. It'll be at the UFC Apex Center in Las Vegas. One issue that comes to mind is it's a smaller cage. Tyrone Woodley and Burns inside of a small cage. It's going to be interesting because I see a lot of clinch work from Woodley. I think it's a bad matchup for Woodley because I kind of like Burns on the ground. I like the aspect of him being able to be multifaceted inside that cage. My thinking is that in order for Woodley to win, he has to win the clinch game and be in top position. That's the only way I see him winning. That's it. This is Woodley's first fight since losing that middleweight title. I don't know where his head's at. That's my thing, though.
See,
is he acting? Is he rapping? Is he in? Is he out?
See, you're funny to me.
Why?
Because, yeah, it's a smaller cage. It's a 25-foot cage instead of a 30-foot cage. Big John McCarthy came out over the week in an interview and said that, oh, the UFC prefers a smaller cage because it allows for more action.
I can see that.
And if you look at Tyrone Woodley likes to avoid action. He doesn't always like to engage. It depends on which Tyrone Woodley you get.
Exactly.
Now you're putting Tyrone Woodley in a lion's den of where there needs to be a little bit more action. He has no real area to back up into. The interesting thing, though, and I bring up, is the fact that here's something that Tyrone Woodley had to say about Burns. He's got a nice left hook, an uppercut, got some knees and flying knees, kicks, punches, and calf kicks. To me, when he says those words, sounds like he wants to avoid striking, much like he did against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He didn't want to strike with Stephen Wonderboy. He wanted to keep it at a distance. He was more leery of trying to engage and was perhaps one of the worst performances of his career. Now you're going to put him in the lion's den where a guy who is a good striker, a guy who is able to get people to the mat, versus a guy who wants to avoid all of those because he's not comfortable with it. But yet he says he's willing to go in there and put on a fight for the fans. I just don't see it. To me, when you make that type of a statement, you already basically showed your hand about what stylistic matchup you want to bring. You want to bring distance. You want to avoid striking. So,
and where I think it should be the polar opposite, work on your clinch game, get top position, and you're okay. We know the power in Tyrone Woodley's hands. We know that. What we don't know is the type of fighter he is mentally coming into this fight. Because of all the outside endeavors that he has and what's going on. That's my problem with Woodley. Burns comes in, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, grappler, power in both hands. I think he's a little bit of a better version of Tyrone Woodley.
Ooh.
And he just took down what many people thought that couldn't be done, is he defeated in a very exciting way, and I point that out, exciting way, finishing off Damian Maia when not many people can finish off Damian Maia, and normally is a very boring fight against Damian Maia, and he performed admirably against him.
You just said Burns is a better version of Tyrone Woodley.
Yes.
That's a bold statement.
And don't get me wrong, this is a former middleweight champion. I get it from Strikeforce days. I've seen it all. I get it. But the thing is that, again, Tyrone Woodley, you don't know what type of fighter you are going to get out of him 90% of the time.
And again, point in case.
Like
you wanted this fight for meaning UFC and Burns and other people wanted this fight to be 3 rounds. It was Tyron Woodley that said, nah, let's make this 5 rounds. I want to take this guy into deep water.
I'm sure he does.
I want to show him exactly that he can't hang for 5 rounds. But excuse me, then he goes ahead and again, his words, I am going to weather the storm for 3 rounds from Burns. So you're going to get into a slugfest or potentially get taken down by Burns and hope you survive? Okay, Burns' career, 6 knockouts, 8 submissions. Bro, you've got 7 knockouts, the rest are decisions. Are you sure you want to weather the storm of a guy who's a finisher?
Also, think about this too, Sean. If you were, say, you're going to weather the storm for the first 3 rounds, right?
Yeah.
Bro, if you lose the first 3 rounds because you are trying to weather the storm, that leaves you 2 rounds. That means that you are losing 3 rounds leading into the last 2, which means you can't win the fight unless you go for a knockout.
Right?
So
I'm
again,
confused about what Tyron Woodley is saying.
Again, that's my thinking about this whole Woodley situation.
Oh my goodness.
Is that every single time I hear him talk, I just want him to stop talking for a second and think before he actually speaks, because he ain't rapping, he ain't selling anything. And if you're selling the fact that you're going to weather the storm for 3 rounds, you're giving him 3 rounds, thinking that you're going to finish the fight in the last 2? You might want to talk to Colby Covington's corner because he just left all the American Top Team, and you might be leaving your team real soon too.
What is I'm not even gonna go there. We'll save that for the end of the show because it just ties into something else about Colby Covington leaving American Top Team, but to stay with the UFC on ESPN 9. But yeah, that's just ridiculous. I'm gonna go with Gilbert Burns in a 2nd round submission victory over Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley's got to go back to the drawing board and figure this thing out.
Yeah, I'm going Burns too. I think Burns finishes this fight too. I'm going in the 3rd round. I just don't like the fact that Woodley has no identity right now. I don't know whether he's all
rounds.
That, and the fact that I don't know if he's all in or all out. I don't know if it's acting or rapping that has his priority. I don't know. So when I see this fight, I see Woodley and I see Burns, and I think Burns is hungrier than Woodley, so I'm going Burns. That's why. Spike Carlisle, we've seen this guy fight numerous amount of times. We have followed his career. I spoke to him the other night. He's in great spirits and is hungry as hell to get this W. Took a fight on short notice against a bad dude and Billy Quarantino. So this fight could be fight of the night.
If Spike Carlisle comes out the way that he did in his debut, absolutely.
Both guys in their debuts, exciting finishes by both of them.
Absolutely. But it's interesting to see that it's at a catch weight, considering that I swear to God that Dana White said there would never be any catch weights
during the pandemic.
Not during just the pandemic, just in general. You typically don't see catch weights in the UFC. You see that in Bellator.
Well, it's funny because
that in other promotions, but you don't see that typically in the UFC.
Right, and that's why I had to reach out and talk to Spike, was because I've never seen Spike have any issues with weight cut. Never.
Yeah, and then you're looking at the fact that this fight will take place at 150.
Yep.
And
he just said that it was a quick turnaround. And getting to 145, he's already naturally a big 145er.
And you're speaking about a quick turnaround. He's replacing the Kevin Holland fight.
Yep.
And you're talking about a quick turnaround. I was like, dude, Kevin Holland from
that was a quick turnaround
from 2 weeks ago is trying to come back around. No wonder why that fight got yanked, was because he has an injured shoulder. It's like 2 weeks. I mean, I give him props for wanting to do it, but I mean, good Lord, hey now.
Yeah.
But you lose that fight, and Spike Carlisle and his fight goes into the main card. Kevin Holland's fight drops down off the main card onto the prelims.
Yeah, because Daniel Rodriguez will face on
Daniel Green.
Yep.
And dude, that's another
Gabe
thing.
Green, not Daniel Green. Daniel Rodriguez, Gabe Green.
Sorry.
Yeah, so they fall down to the prelims, but I think, honestly, I think that's a better fight to have on the main card is Spike versus Billy.
Is it, considering that Green
Dude, you're talking about
is on a 6-fight finishing streak?
making his UFC debut.
Doesn't matter. 6 finishes.
I'm looking for excitement.
Yes, 6 finishes in a row, consecutively. 6. Making his debut in the UFC.
And Daniel Garcia has won like his last 11 of 12 or something like that, and he's fought for King of the Cage, Bellator, Combates Americas. I mean, he's been all around the world, and now he's put it on the UFC cape.
Yeah. Like,
I don't know, dude.
I'm okay with. I would have been okay that if Green and Rodriguez would have stayed on the main card. It just didn't make any difference to me.
I don't know.
Lose or draw.
I don't know. To me, I'm just excited that, again, Spike Carlisle, we've seen him all around the world, from Epic Fighting to CFX to Cage Wars. And this guy has been one of the most well-rounded fighters, knows what he's about, knows his own game plan, knows what type of fighter he is, and make no mistake about it, he knows where he wants to go. And I feel bad for anybody that's standing in front of him because he's always had that mission, Sean.
Yeah.
He's always been that guy that has always been, I know my end game. I know my worth. Well, buddy, here you go. Here's your worth. Show the world May 30th what you're about. And again, shock the world.
And you talking about showing your worth? Mackenzie Dern returns on this fight card after suffering her first defeat. Now, the question is going to be, one, again, like always, she going to make weight? And
100%.
mentally, how does she return after suffering her first ever loss?
It's true.
That's going to be the biggest king. Question is, how is she going to return after suffering that first loss? There's a lot of what ifs and a lot of question marks that are coming to Mackenzie Dern coming UFC on ESPN 9.
Yep. And that's the thing is ESPN Fight Night 9 on ESPN. Again, doing something that many combat sports are not doing right now is putting on fights. UFC, again, first in line, first out, Las Vegas, first event as Las Vegas gets ready to open up. Congratulations to them. Let's get the ball moving and let's get the ball rolling again. At least this is somewhat normalcy now.
Yeah.
Granted, still no fans allowed. Still a horrible thought to even think of. But still no fans. Although it would be interesting if they start doing something like the WWE, the AEW, and putting plants out there. You know, like other fighters.
What was interesting is that we could talk about everything a little bit later. Is that you talk about the WWE, and we can talk about that after we get out of the break. But yeah, you talk about the fans. I mean, the plants are an interesting approach for sure. But you know what? We're gonna go ahead, take our